We are Jim and Cindy Diebold, and we have our son Jack, who's 15, and we have been at Centerpoint going on 7 years now. So for me, I grew up in church, so I wasn't looking for a church. I went to church probably 3 times a week, including Sundays, but that was it. I just went to church. I can't say that if I was told that part of going to church meant leaving church and making disciples, I missed that message 100%.
My perspective on church was very boring, if you will. I wasn't getting anything out of it. I worked Saturday nights. I would literally drag myself kicking and screaming on Sundays. Didn't get anything out of it, as I said, and I started looking for something else. Kind of felt a nudge. We have a neighbor, Patty Wells, that introduced us to the church as well. And I had brought my son to a VBS here. I think it's the only one y'all ever did too. And I just fell in love with the place. So when we started looking, if you will, to look for somewhere else to go, I stepped through the doors here and never looked back. I love this place ever since the day I walked through the door.
You know, we're working on our 7th year, and in every positive way possible, it feels like we've been here our entire life.
Absolutely.
It's been amazing for us. For us, we were sitting in the congregation for probably a year, and decided that, well, I would say I was probably the driving force, and decided that I want to get involved, I want to do something. We made the leap and got involved with small groups. At the time, they were in 4th grade, so now they're in 8th grade, so we're on 4 years of being small group leaders. And it's been awesome just to be able to serve and do that and move forward.
I was one of those sitting there in the seats, wanting to be a participant, wanting to be one of the people involved in other people, but feeling completely inadequate, unprepared, not able to do it. He wanted to join small groups, and he wanted to be a small group leader, and I'm like, small group leader? I can't lead kids, are you kidding me? I don't know anything about this. I am not versed in any of these things. These girls that I would be a leader for probably know more about all this stuff than I do. So, but I stepped into it faithfully. Tammy assured me 100% that he would prepare us for whatever was going to be said and dealt with that day. And sure enough, it always works out. I learn more from them than I think they necessarily learn from me on some days. But it really is a very cool thing to have stepped out and done. I'm so grateful that I got out of that comfort zone and went and stepped in and did that. Those girls are all amazing. And I can imagine not having them in my world.
So Unfinished for us was, I guess, multifaceted. Number one, we're being fed here amazingly well. So to give back and to give more, to make it that stretch, like Pastor Sean talked about, was a no-brainer for us. I didn't know I didn't have a relationship with God. I went to church 3 times a week, 4 times a week, and had no idea that I didn't really have an actual relationship with God. And now, through everything that we've learned here, through the messages that we're given every week, I lean on God hard every single day, especially lately, but I really have leaned on God a lot in regards to being faithful and knowing that if we're faithful, He's faithful, and He has matched us and then some every single step of the way. So
very much so.
There have been some challenges as of late. And so the funny thing is, when we first came here, like I said, almost 7 years ago, one of the very first sessions that we went through talked about financial giving and stuff. Not the ABCs, that was more recent, but it was something different. So at that time, we made it a point that we were going to start doing a 10% tithe.
Which is nothing we had ever done before. We were one of those families that gave what was left over from after our spendings. That was our tithing, as opposed to flipping it the other way around.
And what was really sad about the revelation was, when Sean said the national average is like 2%. So I went back and did some quick math when I got home, and I was like, oh my gosh, I fall into that category.
We're one of them.
So never again were we going to do that. And ever since we started tithing 10%, we've never not had what we needed. And I think it's important to distinguish that, where people might think that amazing windfalls are going to come. It's not that they're not. But God promises that we're never not going to have what we need. And we've always had what we needed after taking that step.
And don't get us wrong, it's hard to write some of those checks monthly. It seriously is. But that's about all the further that goes, because like you said, it always makes its way back in.
God has always been faithful there.
He's always been faithful to us.
So fast forward a couple years, I quit my job, opened up a business, and that had some financial rewards to it, of course. But then I, for various reasons, closed the business. And then that's when, for the last 2 years, I've been in like a professional turmoil, trading water basically. And, finances started to dwindle, but our giving didn't. If there's one thing that I felt we had to do, is we had to keep giving what we were giving, as opposed to 10% of what we were now making. And again, when we make, so we're supposed to give joyfully, sometimes not so joyfully, to be honest. Where I'm headed right now, for me professionally, 2 days, literally 2 days after I wrote a check that was really, really hard to write, I met a guy who is now has me on a path where I am opening up another business, which is not something you would intuitively do when you're having some financial difficulties. I've been pretty blessed in my career, and in this time I've had a couple pretty significant job offers. And when you're trying to provide for your house and your wife's going, "What do you mean you're not going to go look at that job?" That's tough. But it didn't feel right, and to know that God had me moving in a different direction, to utilize everything I had learned throughout my entire career. This is 20 plus years in the making. Honestly, I lean on him every single day, and even though it might be a little hard to write a check, I still don't feel scared. I feel like everything's under control. We have to stay faithful with the giving part, and not just financially, but also with your time. Look at our story, where we were sitting in the audience going, "This is a great message," and then you go home. And so if there's anything that Pastor Sean and the other teaching pastors have provided, is the understanding that armchair Christianity doesn't get it done. You got to get out there and get involved, whether it's as a small group leader, just open the doors as an usher, do something. To be involved and meet people as they come in, and understand that could be the one person that, because of your smile or whatever, that they stay and make this a home like we did.
Just moving forward in general, I'm so excited about the community center in general, the amount of people that are going to be able to now hear the word of Jesus. It's nothing I've experienced. It's very hard for me to put into words exactly how this church makes me feel. Everything about this place just makes me feel like I'm at home.